Law is a tool for people. It's not a weapon that we are using against them.
As a law student, are you making any money out of it?
Even after all this pageant, my bank account is not crying.
Miss India or a tier 1 law firm job?
We even have a fitness round where we are tested who can hold the plank the longest. Being from a law background, it actually helped me in pageantry.
Pageantry is very similar to a moot court competition for that matter.
Absolutely. It's just that maybe we are more glamorously dressed in pageantry. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
Women who are involved in pageantry, they are objectified, they are very catty in nature, and they're dumb.
Has this affected your identity as a lawyer in any way?
It has affected. I did have to sacrifice a majority of my social life. Some people were very vicious about it. And worst case scenario, if the hate gets too much, I can just shut down my phone and my laptop.
That's the best way to deal with it. We often see that people have a lot of interests, a lot of hobbies, but for the sake of career, but for the sake of having a proper education, they have to leave those behind. होता है ये कि डॉक्टर बनना है, इंजीनियर बनना है, लॉयर बनना है, इसलिए बहुत सारी हॉबीज़ पीछे छूट जाती हैं. But we also have a lot of examples of people who have done both and who have excelled at both. The guest we have today is a great example of this. She is a fifth-year law student at ILS Law College, Pune. But that is not her claim to fame. She is also going to represent India at Miss Charm in Vietnam. And she has been doing pageantry since last 6 years and has won numerous awards and titles along the way. उनसे बात करके हम जानेंगे about how she manages law school with pageantry, because law school is not easy. There are deadlines, there are submissions always lined up. We'll understand how she manages this, and we'll also get some insights into the pageantry industry. Behind the scenes क्या होते हैं, because we only see the outside of it. So काफ़ी interesting conversation रही उनके साथ. She also had some great pieces of advice for people who are looking to get into the pageantry industry or generally trying to pursue their interest along with other engagements. Watch this episode, काफ़ी motivating, काफ़ी inspiring and काफ़ी interesting बातें भी रही हमारी. So stay tuned and I hope you like this one. Hi Shivangi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm good too. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And how's it going for you? You
it's-
recently won Miss Charm
Yes.
India. How's it going for you?
It's a surreal feeling. It's a dream come true. And you know, for last 22 years I've been called Shivangi. But now I'll be at a stage where I'll be called India, representing your motherland and carrying 1.4 billion people with you approximately. It's a huge responsibility. And of course, attached to that is the excitement. It's just amazing, I would say.
Of course. When you're representing India, that's
Yes.
a valid feeling to have. Can you tell us more about how your Miss Charm experience was, how the training and preparation was?
To be very honest, I've been training for this pageant for a year now. I officially started in May 2023, and I've been training with a pageant school, which is, for me, it was Tiara, which is in Pune. The walk, the talk, the hair, makeup, it doesn't come very easy to us. It requires hours and hours of practice. And quite contrary to what the general stereotype is, that pageantry is just looking pretty, talking pretty, but we are judged on a lot of aspects. We are judged on our current affairs, how much do we know about the world that's going around you. We are judged on our speech. In fact, we have a speech round. We literally have a sub contest called Best in Speech. At the same time, you also have to support a social advocacy. So they also see that, you know, what is the impact you're making as a role model on the society. At the Tiara, I was trained by Ritika ma'am, Ritika Ramtri. She's like a second mom to me. She's my fairy godmother, and she has transformed me from being a shy law student to actually being able to represent my country internationally.
Like you said, I'm assuming this takes up a lot of time out of
It
your
does.
schedule, preparing, training,
Yes.
and then participating as well. And since you are also a fifth-year law student, so how do you manage your time? How do you juggle between both these things?
I think a lot of people were very concerned about my attendance for some reason. I do appreciate their concern. It's a very valid issue. So just like any other college out there, my college also has a 75% attendance criteria. The only good thing is that we had approximately 5 hours of classes in the morning. So immediately after that, I used to go and train, and at the same time whatever breaks I used to have in between the shoots or in between training, I used to utilize that time to study. I was also interning 1 month before my pageant. I was interning with Khaitan and Co, and it is all about prioritizing. We only have so many hours in a day, so I did have to sacrifice a majority of my social life. I had to miss out on some family events, on a few college events here and there.
Right, right. And I think at the end, if you're representing India,
Yes.
it makes
Yes.
sense towards the
Yes.
end. Was getting into pageantry always on your checklist, or is this something you decided later?
It was actually. The first Miss India I actually witnessed was back in 2010, and that was also the year that India won her first Miss Earth crown. And I was just so fascinated because each of the winners looked so different from each other. They came from such different backgrounds. Yet, these were women who made so much impact on the society around them. And I just wanted to be a role model like those ladies were. So, somewhere down the line, I always wanted to get into pageantry. So, the first pageant I actually did was at the age of 16. It was called Make Queen. So, I come from an armed forces background, and pageantry is something which is very, accepted and encouraged in the armed forces. We have had so many winners who come from the same background, like Priyanka Chopra, Lara Dutt, Sushmita Sen, Aishwarya Rai. All of them and I, we all share the same background. And after that, I participated in Miss Teen India when I was 18 years old, where I emerged as with a zonal crown of Miss Teen India North. Of course, after dedicating a few years to my studies, I decided that okay, this is my time. It's now or never. So I got trained, and finally I just gave it my shot.
Right, and you're doing wonderful at
Thank
it.
you.
Law and pageantry do not really align together, and in a sense, these are very two distinct fields. So, how did you decide to pursue law and not some other, perhaps entertainment related field, or maybe fashion designing or something like that?
You would actually be surprised that being from a law background, it actually helped me in pageantry rather than, completely push me to another path. So I always wanted to be a lawyer. Something about law, it just ignites a fire in me. And law and pageantry are two subjects that I can talk about all day. There could be 5 hours going by and I'll still continue to talk about it.
Right.
So being from a law background, it helped me in the speech round. It helped me in the Q&A because we as lawyers are heavily encouraged to read about the world around us. And reading just gives you a different perspective of the world around you. So those things actually helped me a lot in pageantry. It also helped me gain a perspective of how the society is and what are the areas where I can provide maximum impact, where I can provide as an ambassador, as a social ambassador. So law and pageantry, I won't say it's that different. In fact, law helped me become better at pageantry.
That's a very interesting insight, in fact, to know that law helps in pageantry. So, do you know of any lawyers who have been into pageantry in the past?
Yes. Alamjeet Kaur Chauhan. She was Miss Universe India 1978, and
wow.
now she is a Supreme Court lawyer.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So she finished her tenure as Miss Universe India, and then she decided to go back to her law studies. And then, of course, she's a very successful lawyer right now. So it's not as if, I'm the first one. There are a lot of I have a senior called Sachi Kudale. She also was a contestant at Miss Universe India. So there have been a lot of women before me, who have actually paved my path.
Right.
So, and I hope that I make it easier for women who will come after me.
Right, right.
So it is all about passing on the torch, Someone breaks the glass ceiling for you, and then you continue to do so.
So are you planning to pursue further education or perhaps go for a master's after your college, or what are your plans?
I really want to because I enjoy studying. It is something that, a lot of people won't expect to hear from me, but I genuinely enjoy studying. I would definitely like to do my master's in a subject that I'm interested in. And honestly, it depends on, a lot of things. It depends on whether I need master's right now, whether I should, gain a little work experience before going. and what is the market like, where I can get the best teachers, where I can grow as a lawyer and as a, student. So a lot of factors go into deciding where I want to pursue masters, but it's definitely on the list.
Are there other interests that you have apart from law and pageantry? Because we have also heard about your project Meenakshi. So can you tell us more about that?
I think as every law student, I enjoy reading, writing, and debating. Very appropriate field I've chosen on
Yes.
the basis of that. But other than that, I enjoy volunteering. So I have had my own project called Project Meenakshi, which works on legal literacy. That is also my advocacy from the pageant. And I feel that India has some of the very well written laws, that can really work on social welfare. But unfortunately, people are not aware of them. And rather than that, this lack of awareness really creates a major distrust in the justice system, which is actually made for them. Law is a tool for people, it's not a weapon that we are using against them. Other than that, I'm also a social ambassador for an NGO called Kalamrut. And what they do is they want to preserve culture and heritage.
Oh.
With globalization, and industrialization, there are a lot of local artisans who are losing out, and they are, because of whatever reason, the social economic pressure, they have to actually abandon their art and go for something which is not as good for them, not only through awareness but also helping them maybe get a GI tag, making them realize how they can monetize their artwork at least enough to be able to support themselves. Because art is something what makes India is such a diverse country, and the day we lose our culture and heritage is also the day we lose the essence of India.
Which field of law are you more inclined towards, perhaps to work in the future?
It's not going to come as a big surprise to everyone, but it's fashion, entertainment, and sports.
Right.
So I fell in love with these fields even before my law school started. I did explore, I explored a lot of fields of law, but nothing really struck that chord for me as much as these fields did. So in future, I would certainly love to be a fashion, entertainment, and sports lawyer.
And who is your ideal lawyer and why do you want to work with them?
It would be Miss Priyanka Khimani, who runs Khimani and Associates. And the reason I want to work with her is because she's a self-made woman. When I read her story, and I also mentioned her in Bar and Bench, she has gone through a lot of struggle, and the way she has overcome each and every obstacle with such grace. And not only that, she has also created an environment which allows other women to be able to come up in the field. She's also the founder of Women in Music,
Right.
which promotes, women as producers or, songwriters, singers, lawyers, entertainment lawyers. So she is someone who has not only developed herself, but she also wants to develop the society with her. And it would be such an honor and pleasure to work with such a change maker.
Right, of course.
She's a lawyer I really, really want to work with.
One thing I'm curious to know about is, has getting into pageantry, which is not a related field with law, has this affected your identity as a lawyer in any way?
Because the fact is that I am famous as Shivangi, the beauty queen, not as Shivangi, the lawyer. So it has affected a lot of people, had concerns of how I'm going to balance both. In fact, some people were very vicious about it. They went as far as calling me a bad lawyer, which doesn't make sense because I've not even started practicing. And other people claimed that, I have changed fields because I'm not good enough at what I do. So it has affected. I think it's an identity that I've chosen for myself. No matter what happens, people will definitely see the beauty queen before they see the lawyer. So it has, created an impact, but at the same time, there's a positive impact as well. There are a lot of people who have been very supportive. They really encourage a person to grow in, a lot of fields. So there have been mixed reactions, I would say.
Mixed reactions.
But yes, it has had quite a significant impact on my identity as a lawyer.
And what has been the reaction of your peers to your stardom? Are they jealous or they support you?
I think jealousy would be a very strong word, but they certainly have, everyone has had quite an opinion. right? Some of people have been very supportive, right? Especially my friends and law school, they have been really supportive. But other people have been very blunt, very like to the face.
Yeah.
My appearance has been torn apart online. Some people have said that, this is not news. When, there's things out there, they were like, there's nothing so great about this. So people had a lot to say. And but I think at the end of the day, you just need to take constructive criticism and just filter out the rest. And yes, I think once you start putting yourself out there, not only women, anyone, you have to expect hate comments.
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's jealousy. I would say it's just an opinion.
Right.
Some people thought I don't deserve to be here. Other people felt I just got lucky. So a lot of opinions were there.
Right.
But yes, I think with the hate comments also come the supportive comments. So it's up to me. And worst case scenario, if the hate gets too much, I can just shut down my phone and my laptop.
That's the best way to deal with it.
The best part about the virtual world is that it's virtual.
Yeah.
So, unless and until someone is just standing outside my house, barking all those hate comments at me, it's fine. I can just shut it down.
Traditionally, we see that families usually push their child to be doctors, engineers, or lawyers, and are not very supportive of their artistic endeavors.
Yes.
So what has been the reaction of your family towards your pageantry? Have they been supportive?
So to be very honest, my dad was supportive from the start. He always had this thing that, oh, I want my daughter to be a Miss India. My mother, on the other hand, she comes from a comparatively conservative background. I think she thinks like 80% of Indians, because an average Indian won't really be very supportive. They won't see pageantry in a very good light. But, I had this dream. And she decided to put her up, like the ideas that she was brought up with, she kept them aside and she decided to support me wholeheartedly. And that is something I applaud about her. Not only her, but my entire extended family. Especially so in pageantry, we have something known as online voting. That is one of the rounds that we are judged on. My entire family, they basically ran an entire campaign just to, help me with the online voting and help me with the Miss Popular contest. And it's just something I appreciate so much, and I really wish that everyone could have that, because being able to keep aside the ideas that have been drilled in your head ever since you were a child, to actually just support a loved one in their dreams, it's difficult. It's not an easy thing, and I consider myself very lucky and very fortunate to be able to have a family like that. I wouldn't be here without them.
It's great to hear that. It's great to have the support of your family, in fact.
Exactly. It helps. It helps a lot.
But if not law, then what would have been the field you would choose?
I actually cannot imagine myself being anything other than a lawyer. So initially, throughout my 11th and 12th, I did prepare for NEET because I come from a family of doctors. And I did not have a lot of exposure in terms of law. In fact, remotely also, there's not a single lawyer in my family.
You're the black sheep there.
In a way, yes. Black sheep, literally, with all the black we wear in law. The lawyers can. Exactly. If I had to, I think I would probably be, maybe on the management or the finance side of maybe a fashion brand. So in a way, I don't think anything can separate me from fashion and entertainment.
We see a lot of stereotypes attached with the pageantry industry. So can you tell us how much of it is true and what your experience has been?
Actually, none of it is true. There is a usual stereotype saying that pageant or women who are involved in pageantry, they are objectified, they are very catty in nature, and at the same time, they're dumb. Let's face it, right? And at the same time, people also say that in pageantry, you just have to look pretty. I understand the name is beauty pageant, but it is far more than that. The definition of beauty has come a very long way. Pageantry is one of the most empowering things I've ever done. All my best friends I have made through pageantry, and when you go through pageantry is something which is very hectic as well, and there's a lot of pressure on you. So when you go through that level of pressure with someone, that leads to an unbreakable bond. This year when I was competing, the show was live. And I had all the girls from my teen pageants who were sitting and watching, even though it's been 5 years since I've met most of them. They were cheering from me from their homes, and it's just something that is so unique and special, especially in a world where we are taught a woman is a woman's worst enemy. Coming to the stereotype that pageants, they really objectify women. They don't. In fact, I have felt more objectified outside pageantry rather than being in pageantry, because it's almost as if, let's take a situation. As a young woman, when I am trying to put my voice or opinion out there, people will tell me that, oh, you're too young to be able to have that kind of opinion, or they'll just ignore me. That's not what happens in pageantry. In pageant, I'm on a stage, and I've been handed a mic, and the entire auditorium, and it's a huge auditorium, all of them are actually silent because they want to listen to what I have to say. And I have that audience not only in person but all over the world because of the internet. So that is, pageantry certainly does not objectify women at all, and they are judging more than your physical appearance. The sub contest we are judged on we have a personal interview round in pageants, which is actually 50% of your score. So you're sitting there, there's a panel of judges, they ask you questions. So participating in a pageant is like applying for a job. You're applying for the role of being a beauty queen. They want to get to know you as a person. So if it did objectify women, or if it was only about physical appearance, they would just make us stand there and decide who the winner was. We even have a fitness round where we are tested who can hold the plank the longest.
Oh, that's something very interesting.
Exactly. So it's every aspect. You have your fundraising, we raise funds for charity. We also have a Miss Congeniality where it is judged that who do the contestants like the most. And I think lastly, the stereotype would be that pageant girls are dumb. I disagree with that. For example, the pageant I recently competed in, the lady who was crowned Miss Cosmo India, she's actually a scientist. She works at AIMS as a clinical researcher. We have had Irene Dakar, who is going to represent India at Miss Tourism. She has her own business, and she is also an ambassador for Ministry of Tourism in Meghalaya. So, each and every one of these young ladies that we have on stage, they bring something different. And they have really struggled in their life, It's not all the glitz and glamour, it's a lot of struggle that goes behind the scenes. And one more thing I wanted to point out, that pageants are much more accepting than what people usually think. Miss Universe, for example, they allow married women, they allow trans women, they allow women who are pregnant, have children, and they have removed the age limit. So anyone above 18 can compete.
Stereotypes, because I feel the public only see what's on the outside of this industry and not the inside, like you were telling us about the bond you share with your fellow contestants. So can you tell us more about what happens behind the scenes?
I'll start with the audition aspect. How can one apply to these pageants? You have to fill up a form first, and they ask you a lot of questions about why do you want to participate? How do you think this thing, this pageant can actually impact your life? Along with that, of course, you have to send your photos, other requirements, whether you're a citizen of the country, the basic requirements they have. After you fill the form, they will ask you to send videos, which is your ramp walk and your introduction video. Once you make it past that stage, they'll call you for an interview. And after that interview, you get shortlisted. During the audition round, you're not judged on the way you are. You're judged on the potential that you're showcasing. After that, once you're selected, there's a lot of training you have to go through. Even the organization helps you from time to time. And then comes the pageant. Everything is checked on the way you are dressed, the poise you carry yourself with. In fact, a lot of contestants, sometimes they lose out on the crown despite, being flawless in all other aspects, just because they are not nice to the staff. From the hotel staff to the makeup artist, photographer, you have to be nice to everyone. So they also want to see what kind of person you are. So you are judged on a lot of aspects. You are judged on, we have an entire speech round where you have to pick topics from a bowl. And whatever topic you receive, you have to give a 2-minute speech on that, impromptu.
Okay.
At the same time, we have Beauty with Brains round, which tests your current affairs, your critical thinking, analytical ability. You also have your best in ramp walk. You have your national costume round, about how well are you showcasing where you come from.
So can we say that pageantry is very similar to a moot court competition for that matter?
Absolutely. In moot court, you're trying to convince the judge by they should grant they should grant a judgment in your favor. Same thing is in a pageant. It's just that maybe we are more glamorously dressed in pageantry. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
It is all about presentation. And pageantry is hard because the schedules are so hectic with all the events and photo shoots. In fact, the day of our finale, we did not sleep because we had rehearsals going on. And we had to pack everything and go to the auditorium because you had your evening gown, you had your opening number, and in between pageantry, from your opening number to your next round, you hardly have 15 minutes. That includes your hair, makeup, everything. So if not anything, I'm pretty sure my family won't be complaining about me taking too long to get ready.
Yeah, that's one skill.
That is a skill. Getting
Yeah.
ready very fast is a skill. And honestly, the time I was being crowned, my feet had given up.
Okay.
Because of the heels and how long we were standing
Yeah.
on those heels. And of course, there were the nerves and, the lack of sleep. So my feet were ready to give up at any time. So the first thing I did after I was crowned and the cameras were off, everything was done, is go sit down. That's
Right.
actually the first thing I did.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes, pageant girls, I think they're built different. They are mentally and of course physically, working on lack of sleep and sometimes food, standing on those heels for long hours. It takes a lot out of you physically and of course mentally also. So I think pageant girls are built different.
It teaches a lot
It
of hard
teaches you a
work,
lot of
determination.
And it also gives you a tough skin. The only disadvantage of pageantry, I would say, that you're so much into the spotlight that people, everyone knows you, but you don't know the people, especially in an era of social media. People can just, sit and pinpoint out small things, and they tend to forget that you're a human. Some of those comments that can really get to you. So, but I think you have to have a thick skin at the end of the day, not only in pageantry, but in any, profession or any industry where you have to put yourself out there. So, I think that I won't call it a disadvantage. I would call it an opportunity to learn.
That's the better way to put it.
That's
I
a
believe.
much better way to put it.
Yes. Since you're talking about so much of training, preparation, having an agency, what are the costs involved with pageantry, and is there any remuneration? And as a law student, are you making any money out of it?
I think this question is going to get the most number of views and replays and whatnot. So I would say pageantry is an investment. There are a lot of costs involved, from your dresses to maintaining yourself, of course the training, because you have to have someone to teach you the hair and makeup. For me, the tiara taught me all of it. So honestly, how much you want to spend differs from a person to person, right? I've known some people who have finished it off in 20K. And I have also known people who have spent, almost lakhs over pageantry.
Okay.
So the cost actually depends on you. Of course, the basic cost remains the same regarding the dresses, whether you choose to get trained or not, whether you want to invest in your social media. Some girls choose to hire a voice coach because they want to craft their voices in such a way that it creates an impact. Some people want to, invest into learning English. It's just an opportunity of I would say, fame that is presented to you. How do you choose to use it is up to you. They are girls who become, actresses, very well-known actresses. Juhi Chawla was a Miss India. And of course, Priyanka Chopra was a Miss India. Most of my wardrobe was sponsored. So I saved a lot of money over there, I would say. I got a lot of opportunities through this. Not only in terms of monetary, but, it helped me increase my network. When, nowadays people say your network is your net worth.
Right.
So it got me into the room of, big businessmen, big lawyers, law firm partners, a lot of people who in the government. And at the same time, it has made me a very confident person. Socializing is a very important skill, especially in a public facing field like law.
Right.
So it has really, it has transformed my communication. It has transformed, in a way where I can talk to people. And it has just given me a different level of exposure, which I don't think I would have if I was only a law student. Now, coming to how much money I've made, I think I've made a decent amount of money. I'll have to go back. Even after all this pageant, my bank account is not crying.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not empty either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think through whatever fame, short-lived, short amount of fame I have received, that has allowed me to actually create content which I'm able to monetize. At the same time, I'm able to get a couple of part-time modeling gigs here and there. And of course, there are cash prizes and everything. You get everything that I do, a lot of it is sponsored now that I'm going for the international pageant.
Okay. And the exposure you get is a bigger return on investment
Yes,
that you get.
yes. But yes, for those future pageant aspirants, I would say it is quite an investment. So, do your calculations beforehand, before you get into it, create a budget book. I maintained a budget book and I stuck to it.
Okay.
So that helped me manage the costs. Plus, I have an Indian mother. So there is no
Right.
way. So even if I went 1 rupee beyond the budget, she said no.
Of course.
Find a way. So that also made me a more resourceful person.
That's a good thing in
Yeah,
fact.
exactly. So it really helps. So the costs differ from person to person.
Your 5th year is ending soon.
Yes.
And what's your plan after this? Miss India or a tier 1 law firm job?
I mean, tier 1 law firm job. I think I achieved what I set out to achieve. I wanted to be a Miss India. I'll get to be a Miss India now in December at Vietnam on the Miss Charm stage. So I think now it's the time where I completely immerse myself, after the pageant, of course, into law. So I think a tier 1 law firm would do the trick.
As a law student, it is very difficult for us to stay fit in light of so many deadlines, project submissions, and all these engagements. And I'm sure your field also requires you to stay fit.
Yes.
Can you share some secrets with us? How do you do that?
It's not a secret, honestly, even if you do basic things of just, something as simple as taking the stairs. It can make a very big difference instead of taking an elevator. And another problem that is very rampant, I think not only in law students, but students in general, and I'll be attacking a lot of people when I say this, is smoking and drinking. A lot of people think that it's a good way of relieving stress. I disagree with that. It is something that I've never indulged in, and I think it does make a lot of difference. At the same time, I try to get 8 hours of quality sleep. It's a challenge, but what's life without challenges?
Right.
Other than that, I try to eat healthy as much as I can. Eating healthy is not, boiled vegetables. It is just eating ghar ka khana.
Okay.
As long as you know what is the nutrition that is in what you're eating, it's good enough. Pasta can be healthy. So I really recommend people should start reading ingredients, and they should be very mindful about what they're putting in their body. I go to the gym at least, I would say 6 times a week. And it's difficult, because I have to leave a lot of things behind, or I have to rush. But, it's a commitment you have to make. It's, easier said than done. Of course, I am in this industry, so I, put in more effort in my fitness. But even if someone is doing 3 times a week, that's good enough. Other than that, something that has really worked for me is Pilates. It's not as easy as it looks. It looks very fancy and very, delicate.
Yeah.
But it's a workout. It helps you with your mobility. It helps you with your flexibility, your strength, and it also helps you with your posture. So simple things like maintaining a good posture, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, getting enough sunlight.
Yeah.
I think all of that can actually make a huge difference in your fitness, which is really important because law students and lawyers are so stressed out.
Exactly.
And stress is very bad for your body. So you need to balance out the other aspects. And other than that, of course, focus on your mental health. Socialize with proper people. Don't let peer pressure get to you, which is easier said than done.
Yeah.
But just the very basics. So, whatever our parents or whatever our teachers have been advising us from years, just follow that. It sounds like a no-brainer, but it's actually very difficult to put into practice.
That's true. That's true. So do you, when your friends or your family goes out, do you avoid eating outside and prefer to eat salad?
Honestly, it's okay to indulge from time to time.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong as long as it's under control. So, before my pageant days, my diet hasn't really changed. The only thing that has changed that I have reduced my caffeine intake because I was a caffeine addict. Like a lot of us law students, I swear off energy drinks. I just stick to one coffee in the morning a day, and that's it. So if I go out with my friends and family, I just, for example, if I'm eating something which is considered traditionally junk food, right? Maybe I'll order something healthier with it. Right, so it is all about maintaining that balance, that point. Every person has a different body. They might require more protein, they might require more carbs, so just see what works for your body. For me, I'm a vegetarian, so I stick to balanced diet that way. I try to use tofu or paneer to get that amount of protein.
Yeah.
So I think just figure out what works for you and maintain that balance. You don't have to like gym 2 hours a day or just keep eating those boiled vegetables. I've never done that.
Okay.
So I hope none of you do that. There is no reason why you have to deprive taste, deprive yourself of that taste. So that would be my advice to people who want to live a healthier lifestyle.
People think that pageantry promotes a certain image of how a woman should be. What do you think about this? What's your opinion on this?
I feel that anyone who has ever seen a pageant would not have that opinion. Because even if you look at my finale, right, all of us look very different. And even if we were to assume that there is a certain beauty standard that is being promoted through pageantry, how do you justify that at an international level? Because each and every country would have a different beauty standard. What might work in India might not work in a country like United States. So I think it's not possible to have that kind of beauty standard, because at international level things like skin tone, height, none of that matters, because there are women from so many different countries. We are basically a brand ambassador of India,
Right.
or whatever countries we are representing on that international stage. So there is no girl that you're a pageant type. It doesn't really exist. There is no particular beauty standard, whether it's height, body, face, nothing. So I would disagree. And at the end of the day, it's about whether you can be a role model to the society or not, whether you're someone whose voice can actually bring a change or not. And I think beauty, the definition of beauty is so broad nowadays, right? You don't have to look a certain way, not only in beauty pageant but outside also.
What is your plan after Miss Charm? Can we expect to see you on the big screens or any other stage?
I mean, I think the only time you'll be seeing me on big screen would be the end credits, where they credit the lawyers and the legal team.
Okay.
So I don't plan on pursuing acting or modeling after I'm done with my reign. Obviously, I'll give it my all when I represent India at Miss Charm this December in Vietnam. And my pageant is all about promoting the culture, tourism, and education. So of course, I would still continue with my work as the brand ambassador of tourism and brand ambassador of the Indian culture. I think it's time that I come back to my law profession, which is honestly my one true love. But you'll see me on big screen, end credits under the legal team, hopefully.
Of course. What would be your advice to people who want to get into pageantry?
I would say believe in yourself, because you'll always be in a place of comparison. Because there you'll find a girl who's maybe taller than you, who's better looking than you, who probably has the features that you want, or someone you feel has more resources than you. But there's a saying that comparison is the thief of joy. So I would honestly say you really have to have that strong self-belief before you go and compete. Because if you're not in that proper mindset, you lose before the competition has even started. The only time you lose is when they don't announce you as the winner, when it's all done and dusted.
Okay.
Right? So keep fighting to the last end, have that strong, solid foundation of, belief in yourself. And honestly, with hope, I think you can conquer the world.
Right.
There is a will. Where there is a
Well, there is a way. Thank you so much for all the Wonderful
My
answers you
pleasure.
gave. But we have a rapid fire round for you
Yes,
towards
please.
the end. So, which lawyer inspires you the most?
Priyanka Khimani and advocate Alamjit Kaur Chauhan.
Which beauty queen inspires you the most?
It would be advocate Alamjit Kaur Chauhan
Okay.
and Miss World, which is Lenore Abigail.
Indoors versus outdoors.
Outdoors.
Bombay versus Delhi.
Bombay.
Are you sure?
100%. I
Okay.
mean, it's called City of Dreams.
Miss Universe versus Tier 1 law firm.
Tier 1 law firm job.
Litigation versus corporate.
Very difficult. But I think I would say litigation.
Cooking or eating out.
Cooking.
Winning Miss Charm in December or getting a Tier 1 law firm job in December.
I would say winning Miss Charm because it's a commitment I've made to my country. It's a commitment that, I have made to my organization the day I was crowned. So definitely, I think I can work towards a Tier 1 law firm job later on.
It's all about balancing your priorities.
Exactly.
That was it for today, Shivangi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank you
over.
so much.
You answered a lot of our questions, gave us a lot of useful insights into the pageantry industry, which I believe a lot of people don't know about.
Yes, I
And-
really hope all my answers have really helped people who want to
Yes.
pursue this in future.
Yes, and we would love to see you on screens in December, and we really hope that you win for India.
I really hope, let's
Yes.
get India her first Miss Charm crown.
Yes, of course, and we all wish you all the best for that.
Thank you so much.
We are really glad to have you as a lawyer with us.
Thank you.
Someone who is representing India as well. So thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you so much.